become concerned Oklahomans as a bipartisan group to independently study the entire capital punishment system from arrest to execution. As I said, this has never been done before in Oklahoma. The commission includes 5 women and 6 men from both urban and rural communities, Republicans and Democrats, prosecutors and defense attorneys, individuals who have served in each of the 3 branches of government, law school professors and law school deans, and victims advocates and advocates for Native Americans. It is a well-balanced and representative group. Now I'd like to call on my wonderful co-chair, Regent Andy Lester.
Ten full-day meetings. We heard from a number of stakeholders, including law enforcement, prosecutors, defense attorneys, judges, families of murder victims, and families of those wrongfully convicted. In addition to those in-person meetings, those 10 in-person meetings, we spent countless hours on conference calls and communicating via email to discuss our findings and to develop the 46 detailed recommendations in our 300 or so page report. We gathered data from state and local government agencies, including the Governor's Office, the Oklahoma Supreme Court, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals, the Oklahoma Attorney General, the Oklahoma Department of Corrections, the Oklahoma District Attorney's Council, several district attorneys, several district court clerks, sheriffs, police departments, the Oklahoma Indigent Defense System, and many, many others. Also, we reviewed scholarly articles, and we commissioned further research so that we could better understand and interpret the data and for comparative analysis. Several individuals and entities assisted the Commission with important data collection and contextual research. And this was done to analyze rates of error, costs, disproportionate application of the death penalty, all of which appears in the appendix to the report. Many of these people provided assistance on a pro bono basis, and they too are listed in the report. I want to thank the Constitution Project for providing staff and researchers to the Commission. The Constitution Project is a bipartisan nonprofit organization that fosters consensus-based solutions to the most difficult constitutional challenges of our time. And although I wasn't in part of the conversation that Governor Henry had with the Constitution Project, if you were to look at the Constitution Project's website, you would see that that bipartisan portion of it absolutely fits with what the Constitution Project does and who the Constitution Project is. I also want to thank several institutions who made their facilities available for Commission meetings. Oklahoma City University Law School, the University of Oklahoma College of Law, Langston University, the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education, and the law firms of Spencer Fane and Crow and Dunleavy. As you can see, the Commission's work was very inclusive. It involved the input and support of many Oklahomans, and you will see this reflected in the report. Let me turn the microphone back over to Governor Henry to announce the Commission's report. Governor Henry.
Thank you, Andy. The Commission, as you heard, has written a nearly 300-page report with over 40 recommendations, 46 I believe to be exact, to address systemic problems in key areas such as forensics, innocence protection, the execution process, and the roles of the prosecution, the defense counsel, the jury, and the judiciary. Our primary recommendation, based on our in-depth study and work, is that the state of Oklahoma should extend the current moratorium on executions until significant reforms are accomplished. The Commission did not come to this decision lightly, but this recommendation was unanimous. We were all disturbed by the volume and seriousness of the flaws in Oklahoma's capital punishment system. This year-long investigation led members to question whether the death penalty can be administered in a way that ensures no innocent person is put to death. Commission members agree that, at a minimum, those who are sentenced to death should receive this sentence only after a fair and impartial process that ensures that they deserve the ultimate penalty of death. Our hope is for this report to foster an informed discussion among all Oklahomans about whether the death penalty can be implemented in a way that eliminates the unacceptable risk of executing the innocent, as well as the unacceptable risks of inconsistent, discriminatory, and inhumane application of the death penalty. We all cherish Oklahoma values and aspirations of innocence protection, procedural fairness, and justice. We encourage the Oklahoma legislature, the executive branch, and the judiciary to take actions to address the systemic flaws in the death penalty system. And we will be meeting with leaders in all three branches. Commissioners stand ready to work with Oklahoma stakeholders to implement our recommendations. Before we open the floor for questions, I'd like to read a statement from my co-chair, Judge Rita Strubar, and then one of our commissioners, Christy Shepard, will discuss how the recommendations of this report can actually impact the lives of Oklahomans. Here's the statement that Judge Strubar sent. I wish I could be there with you today. For the past year, it has been an honor to serve as co-chair of the Oklahoma Death Penalty Review Commission. We came together from all walks of life shortly after the state of Oklahoma imposed a moratorium on the execution of condemned inmates. I am proud that the commission included Republicans, Democrats, independents, prosecutors, and defense attorneys who represent all viewpoints of the death penalty. With endless hours of discussion based on solid and comprehensive research, I am most proud that all the commissioners unanimously agreed on the main recommendation that the current moratorium on executions should be extended until significant reforms are made. It is very important for Oklahoma to get this issue right. Signed, Judge Rita Strubar. Christy?
Thank you, Governor. My family has known the elation and satisfaction of the ultimate punishment of the death penalty being handed down after my cousin, Debbie Carter, was brutally murdered in Ada in 1982. We felt that the justice that was sought in Debbie's murder was fair and deserved. The only truth we had surrounding the last few hours of Debbie's life was unveiled and played out on the stage of our local courthouse in separate trials for Ron Williamson and Dennis Fritz. Then, more than 16 years after Debbie had last been seen alive, DNA testing proved them to be innocent. We watched those two men who we believed were responsible for her death simply walk away, taking any truth that we had with them. After another 2 years, the third trial was underway with the man who matched the DNA. He was convicted, and again my family felt that justice was served and the death penalty was handed down. But after 2 more years had passed, the third conviction was then overturned, and we would be heading back to the courthouse. 22 years had passed, and the fourth trial was on the horizon. We had lost all faith in the criminal justice system, in addition to the agonizing guilt that 2 innocent men had suffered. That 4th trial ended with life without parole, which seemed somewhat of a relief that maybe now the looming anxiety of Debbie's justice being ripped away was over. For my aunt, Debbie's mother, Aunt Peppy, the death penalty had become a false promise. Over the last 10 years, I have met numerous individuals who have been wrongfully convicted and walked away from death row, many of whom I call friends. I have chosen to learn more about the criminal justice system and how it's out in real life and how the death penalty fits into that. This commission has been an honor to serve on and has helped add a wealth of further knowledge specific to our death penalty process here in Oklahoma. While I struggle with what punishment would seem adequate for the suffering of Debbie and her family, nothing will ever make my Aunt Peppy whole again. But the truth would have been a good place to start. DNA freed Ron and Dennis, but lots of issues helped keep them wrongfully convicted. This commission's in-depth study will show that truth, fairness, and justice can be lost due to systematic problems in our death penalty system.